I was alone in the radio tower when the sky began to scream a sound so low it rattled the windows and made the transmitter hum like it had come alive. And at first I thought it was feedback until I stepped outside and saw the stars moving. The sky wasn't just dark, it was alive, shifting with silver shapes that blotted out constellations I'd seen every night for 10 years. And I knew in that moment the rumors of the invasion weren't rumors at all, they were late warnings. I ran back inside and switched the broadcast to manual, my hands shaking as I pulled the mic closer and began to speak, telling whoever was still listening that the ships were here, that the lights above weren't meteors, they were engines. For a while there was only static, and then voices came through, dozens of them, frightened, panicked, asking me where to go, what to do, and I wished I had answers, but all I could say was to get underground, stay out of sight, and pray. When the first beam of light hit the ridge, I saw the trees vaporize in a perfect circle. The ground blackened and steaming, and I knew hiding might not be enough, because whatever they were doing was erasing the land itself. The emergency phone rang once, and then went dead. The lines fried, and I realized the tower itself was probably a beacon now, a glowing pinprick for whatever intelligence had arrived. I took my rifle from the rack, not because I thought I could fight them, but because I did not want to die without trying, and I slung my pack over my shoulder and started down the access road toward the valley. The air was hot and thick, shimmering like a desert mirage, and when I looked back at the tower, I saw something descending toward it, a dark mass that unfolded into legs and cables like some vast mechanical insect. It struck the tower once, and the whole thing folded like paper, sparks raining down. And I knew then that I couldn't stop moving, couldn't hesitate, because whatever was happening everywhere. By the time I reached the town, fires were already burning, houses split open, cars melted into pools of metal, and shapes moved through the smoke, tall figures with glowing joints, scanning the streets with beams of white light. I ducked into the diner, the windows blown out, and found 3 people hiding under a table, their faces pale and eyes wide, and when they saw my radio badge they begged me to tell them what was going on. I told them the truth, that we were under attack, that the government's silence wasn't incompetence but surrender, because nothing human could stand against what was in the sky right now. One of them, a boy maybe 17, said his sister was still at the high school gym with the others, and I told him to stay put. But he ran bolting through the street before I could stop him, and I had no choice but to follow. We cut through backyards, ducking low as beams swept overhead, and I caught glimpses of the ships now closer, massive, their hulls covered in strange shifting symbols, like a language that wrote itself over and over. When we reached the gym, we found the doors open, the lights out, and inside there were no people, only rows of something like webs, strands of pale material hanging from the rafters and sticking to the floor like silk. The boy stepped inside, calling for his sister, and when something moved in the shadows, I pulled him back just in time as one of the figures stepped into the light, its head bulbous, its eyes lidless and black. I fired once, the shot echoing through the empty gym, and the thing staggered but didn't fall. It only turned toward me, and let out a sound that wasn't a scream but a signal, and I knew more were coming. We ran, through the locker rooms, out the back door, across the football field as the sky lit up behind us with beams striking the gym, the building collapsing inward as though it had been swallowed. By the time we got back to the diner, the others were gone, just blood on the tiles and a trail leading out the door. And the boy collapsed against the counter sobbing because we both knew they hadn't escaped. I pulled him up, told him we had to keep moving, and we headed for the old storm shelter outside town, the one no one used anymore. And by some miracle we made it there before the next sweep of lights came. Inside it was musty, full of rusting supplies and stale air, but the concrete walls muffled the sounds outside, and for the first time since the tower fell, I let myself breathe. We stayed there through the night, listening to the distant hum of the ships, the occasional blast that shook the ground, and when the noise finally stopped just before dawn, I knew we had survived the first wave. When we climbed out, we saw the sky was clear again, but the town was gone. Nothing left but blackened earth and silent streets, and in the distance we saw the ships rising, leaving slowly like predators that had eaten their fill. The boy asked me what we were supposed to do now, and I told him we would rebuild, that as long as we were still breathing, there was a chance to start again, and maybe next time, we would be ready. As the sun came up over the dead valley, I raised the radio from my pack, switched it to broadcast, and spoke into the mic, telling anyone who could hear that the attack was over, that survivors were still out here, that we weren't finished yet. The static hissed for a long moment, and then a voice answered, faint but human, telling us they were coming to meet us, that there were others scattered but alive, and for the first time since the sky screamed, I believed we might have a future.